Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. And it's been a strange day for PlayStation. Now, they actually did acquire a new game studio today, which is always really exciting, though this one is a bit different, but I also think it's really smart, and I'll explain why here in just a bit. That wasn't quite everything though, because PlayStation also announced a new game that's been rumored for a little while now, though it's landed them in a bit of a controversy, and yeah, this one is a whole big mess, which we'll kind of go over here in just a little bit as well. Meanwhile, you have Xbox, which looks to have signed a letter of intent to work with one of the most legendary developers of all time. So yeah, we have a jam-packed episode today, and we got a lot to go over, so let's just go ahead and get the party started, with the first topic being about Dead Space. Now, a couple weeks ago, we did talk about the possibility that Dead Space could be returning because multiple outlets started to report that a new Dead Space game was in development by EA Motive, and whatever this game is going to be is supposedly going to be announced at EA Play Live on July 22nd. And that's all very exciting because Dead Space is probably one of the best survival horror games ever made. It's a very good game, and I know fans have been wanting this franchise to return for years and years, and well, it looks like that's about to happen. In fact, more information has started to come out over the last 24 hours that suggests that this rumor, in fact, is true. So one thing that happened is a little bit more speculative, but the official Dead Space YouTube channel has officially changed their profile picture after 8 years of being completely inactive. Now, this is amidst rumors that a Dead Space announcement will be made at EA Play Live on July 22nd. So, I mean, when you start to consider that, yeah, it sounds like something is definitely up with the Dead Space IP. I mean, why else would they just suddenly update their YouTube channel? It just all seems too coincidental. But then also you have GamesBeat, which is now reporting that this new Dead Space reboot that is going to be made by EA Motive is actually taking notes from Capcom's recent Resident Evil remakes. Yeah, apparently this new Dead Space game will actually be a remake, and reportedly, like Resident Evil 2 Remake, expect the next Dead Space to use the original game as a strong foundation, but it should also have modern visuals, and it will likely bring in new gameplay mechanics inspired by other entries in the franchise. That is a direct quote from GamesBeat reporting on this supposed Dead Space remake. And you know what? I'm actually all for this. I really do like remakes as it just takes an already good game and it just takes it to the next level. I mean, when you look at the Resident Evil remakes, those games look extraordinary, especially when you compare them to the original games that launched on the PlayStation 1. But now we're starting to see this trend of Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 games be remade, and you know what? I think that there's a lot of good games from that generation that could really benefit from that. I see this as an overall good thing. We saw what Demon's Souls looked like on the PlayStation 5 compared to the PlayStation 3 version, and wow, that game looked phenomenal. It just kind of goes to show you how much technology has advanced since the launch of the Xbox 360 and PS3, and I think Dead Space would make a perfect remake. Regardless, one way or the other, it definitely looks like there's something up with the Dead Space IP, and hopefully we get a new Dead Space announcement at EA Play Live on July 22nd. Definitely crossing my fingers for that one. Next up, we have a new game announcement to talk about that's both surprising and very welcome, and that's for AI the Somnium Files' NirvanA initiative. Yeah, the 2019 AI the Somnium Files is getting a sequel here, and this is actually really cool to see. Now, I know right away a lot of people unfortunately will not recognize this game. I actually have this on one of my top 10 Nintendo Switch hidden gem lists because it really is a great game that is vastly overlooked. AI the Somnium Files does play out kind of like graphic novels, and I know that's not going to be for everybody, but this is coming from the same creator that worked on the Zero Escape series. So if you've played games like 999 or Virtual's Last Reward, AI the Somnium Files is very similar to those games, and if you like those games, I do highly recommend checking out AI the Somnium Files. For those who did play the first game, though, you now have a sequel in the pipeline that will release in spring of 2022. Yeah, you're still gonna have to wait a little while to actually play this game, but you will play as Mizuki and Aiba this time, and then you'll be investigating the half-body serial killings. Oh, and to just kind of add to the good news here, AI the Somnium Files NirvanA Edition will be launching for the Nintendo Switch, PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. Yeah, that's right, this game will be heading over to Xbox, which is a bit of a surprise, but very welcome news. This just once again shows you that Xbox has really improved with Japanese games this generation. Regardless, if you did miss out on the first game, I do recommend checking that one out. But if you're looking forward to playing this one, again, it will launch in spring of 2022, and there's even a collector's edition which includes a Good Smile pop-up parade figure of Aiba. So if you really like this game, you can go pre-order that now. Let's move on over to the PlayStation news, though, because we do have quite a bit to go over here, and yeah, they had some interesting announcements today, one being a new studio acquisition. Now, obviously, studio acquisitions are always really exciting, but this one was a bit different, and I'll kind of explain why. So earlier this morning, PlayStation announced that they had acquired another studio by the name of Nixxes Software. And right away, you might not recognize this studio, but apparently they're actually specialists at making PC ports. And that is very interesting considering we have been seeing PlayStation port several games from their PlayStation 4 library over to the PC. Yeah, it's starting to seem like PlayStation is getting really serious about porting games over to PC, so much so that they're now acquiring a studio that specializes at doing just that. But interestingly enough, when you look at the statement that PlayStation made about this studio acquisition, they did say that Nixxes will be a strong asset for everyone across PlayStation Studios, helping our teams focus on their most important goal, which is to create unique PlayStation content at the best possible quality. So I think that Nixxes is possibly going to be used as a bit of a support studio and then port different games to different platforms. And it doesn't just have to be porting to PC either. We could see them work on some old PlayStation games and import them over to the PlayStation 5. That is completely possible with a studio like this. But overall, I think this is a smart acquisition. I know it's not necessarily going to be the most exciting acquisition in the world, but this does allow PlayStation to free up their first-party studios to focus on the games that they need to. Instead of outsourcing different first-party games to third-party developers to help out with, they could instead have Nixxes assist with these first-party games, and that's always a good thing when you can keep everything in-house. If anything, it could allow for first-party games to have even better quality, which is saying a lot because these games are already very high quality in the first place. But they could help out with that, and then on top of that, they could port different games, and I have heard that they might be working on their own original game as well. But either way, I think this is a good acquisition, even if not the most exciting for fans of PlayStation consoles. Now, PlayStation also announced a new game today, being Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. Yeah, that's right, we talked about this game earlier this week, and it's now been confirmed, though there's a bit of controversy surrounding this game, which we'll get into here in just a moment. First, though, we'll kind of talk about what you get with the Director's Cut, and that includes all DLC, plus the Ikishima Island expansion, which is certainly very exciting. It has DualSense support on the PlayStation 5 edition. You have 4K resolution, 60 frames per second, enhanced visuals, plus improved load times. You can transfer your save file. It has Japanese lip sync support for the PlayStation 5, and there's plenty of other upgrades as well. And all that sounds really exciting, but, and there's a big but here, there's some controversy surrounding the pricing. So on the surface, it's pretty much what you would expect. The PlayStation 4 edition will be $60, while the PlayStation 5 edition will be $70. This is something that PlayStation has been doing this generation with their PS4 and PS5 games, so that's not really a big surprise. You will have to pay an extra $10 for the PS5 edition. But the controversy goes a bit further than that. And yeah, let's just go and check this out. Sony has reported that you can pre-order an upgrade to Director's Cut on PlayStation 4 for $20 US. This upgrade will become available starting on August 20th. However, if you bought Director's Cut on the PlayStation 4, you'll be able to upgrade to Director's Cut PS5 at any time for $10. You can also upgrade directly from the original Ghost of Tsushima PS4 edition to Director's Cut on the PS5 for $30 US. So what this means is that if you bought Ghost of Tsushima for the PlayStation 4 day one for $60, that is the standard edition, and if you want to upgrade to the PlayStation 5, it will cost you a grand total of $30, bringing that original price from $60 all the way up to $90. Now, however, if you buy the Director's Cut on the PlayStation 4, then you'll have to pay $10 extra to then upgrade it to the PS5. So regardless, it looks like PlayStation at the very least is going to get $70 out of you if you get this game on a PS5 in some shape or form, whether that be through an upgrade or if you buy the standalone edition on the PlayStation 5. They will get that $70 for you. But the people who are most affected in this situation are the ones who bought Ghost of Tsushima day one for $60 on the PS4. That is the standard edition, and you will have to pay an extra $30 to upgrade to the Director's Cut. So in other words, the people who have not bought Ghost of Tsushima so far will only have to pay $70, where the original supporters will have to pay $90. And that right there is exactly why we're seeing so much controversy with this Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut pricing. The $70 price point that PlayStation has really been pushing this generation has already been controversial on its own, but now we're seeing an expansion like this that is quite steep in terms of price, especially if you already own the original PlayStation 4 edition. Meanwhile, new customers do get this game a little bit cheaper, though that is pretty common when it comes to Game of the Year editions. Typically, Game of the Year editions come with all the extra DLC included for a cheaper price, so that's not all that uncommon. But one thing that we have been seeing this generation is that these upgrades are oftentimes free. There has been a trend this generation where publishers have been giving these next generation upgrades away for free, and we're not really seeing that with PlayStation here. But that looks to be because they're actually treating this Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut as a completely new edition of the game. And like I said earlier, they're going to get that $70 out of this edition of the game one way or the other. With all that said, though, if we can look past the controversy here, the good news is that we are getting more content for Ghost of Tsushima, which is an excellent game, and that is really good news. Now, hopefully, it's a lot of extra content because the pricing is a little steep on this one, but more Ghost of Tsushima content is definitely a good thing. Let me know in the comments below, though, on what you think about the pricing for this game. Next up, let's talk about the Xbox Hideo Kojima partnership. We've talked about this partnership multiple times in the past, and now VentureBeat is reporting that Hideo Kojima's deal with Xbox reaches a new key milestone. So apparently, according to VentureBeat, Hideo Kojima and Microsoft have signed a letter of intent that states the two parties intend to work out the details on a publishing agreement for a new Xbox game, according to sources familiar with the matter. So there it is. It does in fact look like Hideo Kojima Productions will be working on an exclusive Xbox game, which is absolutely huge. I mean, Hideo Kojima is one of the most legendary developers of all time, and he has a ton of fans. But that's actually really interesting because typically in the past, Hideo Kojima has primarily worked on PlayStation, whether that be with Metal Gear Solid games. You had PT Silent Hills, then you also had Death Stranding as a PlayStation 4 exclusive. So not only does Hideo Kojima have a lot of fans, but a lot of his fans are actually on PlayStation consoles. And that's one of the reasons on why signing an Xbox exclusive with Hideo Kojima is actually smart, because you can entice PlayStation gamers to come over to Xbox to check this game out. Whether that be on Xbox PC or Xbox Game Pass, they don't really care. They just want you in their ecosystem. But the question still remains: what is this game actually going to be? And there are some small details about that. According to Jeff Grubb, this game will be cloud-based. Now, as to what that means, we don't really know yet. We've seen games in the past, such as Flight Simulator and Crackdown 3, incorporate cloud-based technology, but it'll be interesting to see what Kojima, a very creative mind, does with cloud-based technology. And in fact, it's also being reported that that new Kim Swift team that is going to oversee partnerships for cloud-based games was actually hired to help with the purpose of assisting in making Kojima's cloud game a reality. So what we're seeing here is that Xbox seems very committed to making this Hideo Kojima partnership work. And even though we don't know exactly what this game will be, it already has a lot of talent involved. Hideo Kojima, of course, is insanely creative, and it'll be interesting to see what he can do with a cloud-based game. We could see something really special with that. But also, Kim Swift is very talented as well. Kim Swift has worked on games like Portal and then Left 4 Dead. So, again, we don't know much about this game as of this moment, and it'll probably be a while before they officially announce it. But I think there's a lot of reasons to be excited about this partnership. On to the poll of the day, though. Yesterday, Konami and Bloober Team announced a partnership amidst Silent Hill rumors. Yeah, back in February, Bloober Team kind of hinted that they might be working on a Silent Hill game, so there was already kind of speculation that this was going to happen, and this just kind of puts more fuel on the fire. But there has been some mixed reactions that Bloober Team might be one of the studios that are working on a new Silent Hill project. So I wanted to know from you all, if Bloober Team is in fact working on a new Silent Hill game, would you be interested? And yes, it looks like most of you all would be happy with this, as 59% of you voted for yes. I myself would agree with this because I think Bloober Team is a really good horror developer. I really enjoyed the Medium, which released just earlier this year. Now, I do understand some of the concern with this studio because they have a tendency of not really focusing on combat, and you can see that in the Medium as well. But with that said, I think the Medium really excels in certain aspects. I mean, if you look at the story, the characters, the atmosphere, it's all absolutely excellent. In fact, in terms of stories, villains, and characters, I think the Medium stands tall as one of my favorites within this genre. But I still know that there's going to be some expectations with a Silent Hill game, and you might want good combat as well. And that's where some of the concern lays with Bloober Team. With that in mind, though, it is being reported that there are multiple Silent Hill games in development, and this will not be the only Silent Hill game. So even if Bloober Team makes a Silent Hill game and they don't focus on combat, you could still get a really good Silent Hill story-driven experience. And then, by a completely separate studio, you might get that more traditional Silent Hill game that you are looking for. So, I mean, you might get the best of both worlds here, and who knows, Bloober Team might just blow you away, and then they might have some really good combat in this game as well. We just don't know. But I think a studio like this deserves a chance because I do think that they are a really good horror-based studio. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.